Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is October 15th, 2024, and we're doing the show that you can share with your friends.
But what categories, Krista?
Oh, you just told me. We only have one social story, and then government and security? What's security in this section?
You said one social story.
Yeah, there was just one.
No, we moved social up because the
Yeah.
distribution was
Anyway, off. Yeah.
Does it really matter to you? If you're like, oh, we're not doing security day, do you turn off?
Yeah. I need to hear the title and then pat your shit.
And obviously, Wendell's not here today. He is on location in Tampa selling scalped Starlinks.
Say t-shirts for some reason.
They might need those too. Well, I'm sure it's actually quite lovely, the weather down there, probably. Right?
Probably now that the storm has passed. So you might get a nice breeze in your house, considering that was a Cat 3 at landfall.
That's sad. So, yeah, this is a really short one today. The news cycle seemed to have been dominated by names like Helene and Milton.
Milton Man.
But we'll do what we can, and plenty of room to riff here if you got some thoughts on these stories. Mm-hmm. And this is a big one. I do not know if this is this one. Yeah, this one is the final appeal. I think the time has run out.
Yeah.
On this one.
Google must crack open Android for third-party stores, rules Epic judge. So if you're on the store, you should be able to access other stores.
Labeling him the Epic judge. I mean, he's not on their side.
Yeah, should it just be like the judge in this case?
In the Epic case, yeah.
Do you think Google wrote this headline? Do you think they called the editors?
They capitalized it, so I'm assuming they're not just talking about his judging skills being absolutely epic.
He's really, really good.
But yeah, he has said that you're going to have to not only allow third-party stores, but your third-party store has to be downloadable through the Play Store.
Which I thought was kind of funny. I was like, you're kind of getting incepted at that point, but...
There's a bunch of bullet points here. Can you read those?
I cannot.
So you can't keep those things off, obviously. The payments, you're going to have to allow the outside payments. You're going to have to be able to link to side loading. So, like, you can go to the Play Store and be like, I don't trust the Play Store. I'm going to get this directly from the person, the developer.
Yeah.
Google has a tiny bit of a loophole here in that they are allowed to do quote-unquote security audits and reject things on those grounds. I imagine they will really try to abuse that.
Yeah.
But the judge said, don't try to abuse this.
Which, Google, always acting in good faith, was like, yeah, of course, we would never.
They also cannot, and this is similar to the next story we'll talk about, no more making deals about like exclusivity or whatever, which is hilarious because Epic does exactly that with gaming. They probably saw that part and they were like, "Oh, have we gone too far?" But that one probably does not sting quite as much as this one if you are a Google executive.
DOJ indicates it's considering Google breakup following monopoly ruling. Search is too big. Also, there was a comment in here where they talked about how good the search was, and I was like, since when?
Yeah.
I was confused by that, but...
Well, what else are they going to argue? Their main argument here is like, people don't use search because we monopolize it. People use Google search because it's just so good. And that's a lie, probably.
It is a lie now, yeah. It was probably true at one point, but now I think it's just like, that's the one most people default to. When I tell people there are other search engines, they're like, what?
Now, he did temper his language, this judge, or the DOJ, saying that, we could break them up.
Yeah.
It's on the table. I don't think it really is, do you?
I don't know how the other, I mean, to be fair, the executive made the same point. Like, I don't know how the other businesses function without ad revenue from ads.
Yeah. So most likely they're going to do some similar stuff to the Epic case where they don't quite break them up, but they put a lot of rules on them.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing that I forgot to mention about the Epic case, 3 years.
Oh, yeah. It was 2028, I think, was when it was.
So it starts next year, and it's only going to run 3 years. And Epic was like, bro, 3 years is not long enough. And he's like, no. Other competitors during those 3 years should have enough time to, like, get out from under this. If you can't do it in that time, Google gets to go back to being a monopoly.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, that's
So they're saying that there could be some similar stuff going on here, and they're not sure yet, but you got to be a little bit worried. Google's playing it cool. They're like, oh, don't worry about this. Also, this is not the end of the appeal cycle. They will appeal this.
Well, we'll be talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like Google's a monopoly, but here's another one.
Yeah, there's lots of monopolies going on right now.
U.S. antitrust case against Amazon to move forward.
Now, this is not anything huge. It's just one of those things where Amazon was trying to get it thrown out on some various legal grounds, questionable legal grounds. And
hoping that everyone was just blind and deaf.
They've said no, that is going to go forward.
Have you seen on Amazon? So I was on their homepage last night. They have a new little tab at the top, Rufus.
Is that their AI?
I guess, yeah. I was like, who needs... Why? Why are you wasting resources on
so
that?
we can tell you what you have to buy. They were asking for this to be thrown out because they said that FTC couldn't prove harm. I think there's a little evidence.
Yeah, ask all the third-party sellers on Amazon if Amazon has done them dirty.
And can we prove harm from social media? Mark Zuckerberg says there is no proof. We've seen some articles that seem to reference some studies. Now, modern scientific studies are questionable at best, but the empirical evidence also seems to point to humanity maybe not being the best thing to be online on social media. And attorneys general is how you're supposed to say that.
Weird.
Are, as usual, attacking.
TikTok is, quote, digital nicotine meant to hook kids. AG's fume in new suits. Our state was included in this. Did you see that? Kentucky was one of the ones listed.
Did see, that's not surprising.
New York, California, Kentucky, and a bunch of others. I think 14 others.
The list of complaints here is stuff you've all heard before. You know, it's the algorithm that keeps them going. Also, TikTok's got the new TikTok coins.
I saw that and I didn't fully understand it.
It's some kind of reward for engagement. So it's another.
Oh, okay. Oh, never mind. We talked about that before.
Yeah. So, and I remember when we talked about that, we were like, wow, it's kind of brazen to roll that out.
Yeah.
When you're looking at this kind of scrutiny mode. They don't care.
They don't care. Well, and then this article also cited a bunch of horrible statistics about how, like, the people have severe depression looking at it. 25% of teen girls have considered, I can't even say the word because of TikTok. Like,
well, but see, that's where I kind of question it because, like, I'm not having the best time either. And I'm not using any of these social medias. And
you are using, like, Reddit and YouTube, though, right?
Well, I don't post on Reddit.
No, but if you read it, that's still doom scrolling.
I read it.
I read it. That's why they call the site that.
But I'm saying, like, there's so many other things that can make you depressed in the modern world.
Yeah. Right? We just talked about the two giant hurricanes. I mean.
Well, not even that. You know, just like politics and business. Our industry is probably going to be destroyed by AI in the next 5 years. There's a lot to worry about. Not just TikTok, but TikTok probably is terrible for you.
Sometimes I feel like our industry is going to be destroyed, and then I talk to a client, and I'm like, no. But that means I have to level up people skills, which is tough.
People are the worst.
They are. That's the worst part of any engineering project is dealing with the user.
And, you know, the artificial intelligence taking over and social media dominating all of our culture leads to a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of fake stuff, fake people, fake robots. Everything's fake. It's like Catcher in the Rye. And that our government has decided they're going to somehow control.
FEMA adds misinformation to its list of disasters to clean up. There has been a lot of this floating around.
But that happens with every major event, no matter what it is.
It is crazy. Like, I sort of distrust any sort of link I see online where it's like, we're taking donations for this, because you just don't know where it's going.
You know what else I distrust? FEMA. And the FCC very recently said that Starlink, like they didn't do the paperwork correctly or they didn't qualify for whatever. Starlink wanted to be part of the emergency rollout. Like, hey, if bad things happen, we can get the Starlinks out there. People get their internet back.
I don't know if it was like quite like that. I think it was more like they were trying to become a government contractor or like a government provider, not specifically for emergencies like this, but this would have like grandfathered them in.
There was red tape for sure
Yeah.
that they didn't do right because he's kind of like that.
Yeah. Rules don't apply to me.
He doesn't do
You
it
know who I
correctly.
am?
He won't play the bureaucracy game, and then after he gets rejected, he goes on Twitter and complains about it. But that might have been a good idea.
FCC lets Starlink provide service to cell phones in areas hit by hurricane. A broken clock is right twice a day.
So this, you don't have the Starlink yourself, if I understand it correctly. They're just deploying them, and they're going to use that to run the local mobile.
Yeah, probably like hotspots too. Like if you're, a lot of times they'll have like a central hub where that's like, this is where supplies are being handed out here. You can charge your cell phone, blah, blah, blah. They probably have hotspots set up for that as well.
And they're also giving people free Starlinks, but I read that maybe they're not free at all.
It's probably, I think it's only for the first month, right? 30 days?
But you still have to buy the equipment as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. It could be misinformation.
Well, who could say? Yeah.
Although, if you're in a situation where you're not going to have internet for the next month and a half, you're probably going to pay the $300, right?
I feel like if, in the cases of some of the victims of Helene, like, if your whole house and stuff was washed away, like, you have so many other bigger problems than just getting internet access.
But that's probably not a huge percentage. Most people are just without power. And some people might have power and not have internet. If you're in that last category, you're paying that $300.
Yeah.
They also pointed out that this is not perfect technology because it's not built to convert to mobile like that. So might not be great.
Better than nothing,
yeah,
though.
It's better than nothing.
And especially if you're trying to get supplies brought in.
And here's another story about better than nothing. Because in a weird political time, we have political candidates who are just like, no, I'm not going to talk to the people. I have nothing to say to them.
Bizarre. Exclusive. Virginia congressional candidate creates AI chatbot as a debate stand-in for incumbent. Who is interested in watching this? Who is this for?
This is self-advertising, I think. Remember the other guy did this? He created...
But he did it to run as a candidate, right?
But he was developing AI stuff. This guy's in a similar situation. And I think it's just PR, basically. But he wants to create an AI chatbot that's been trained on the website and all the public speaking of his opponent, the incumbent, who will not debate him. And
That feels like that should be illegal, but I don't know.
it's illegal to use AI in certain ways, but this doesn't, because it's totally upfront. Like,
That it is AI, yeah.
They're not
I guess
gonna-
at least it's labeled.
yeah, they're not going to deep fake him. I think it's just going to be like maybe a cardboard cutout or something.
Literally a puppet.
The reporters that did this story were allowed to run some questions by the AI, and it responded exactly like this guy's website does. So, like, what is this even?
I don't. I guess if you were looking at here, I'll pretend to be Wendell, where I'm looking at it in the most optimistic way possible. Maybe if you were a voter who maybe prefers, you're an auditory learner, maybe this is great for you because you don't have to, or you're not good at navigating the web. You can just listen to the AI read it to you like a bedtime story.
How do you intend to navigate the voting machine?
Don't think about that. Don't they have helpers for that? Like if you
They
need
do,
help,
yeah,
they'll come
which
they'll
is-
come over and ask.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Like,
Well, I mean, you can be informed, but just be old and not good at tech stuff. Maybe if you're not used to that.
maybe. But our world is run by tech. How are you going to vote in an election that's, I mean, what about when we have all AIs running for the election? That's like 10 years away. And if you are looking for a job in Mexico, there's some good news because this is definitely going to be a growth industry in Guadalajara.
Foxconn building Nvidia superchip facility in Mexico, executives say. I always try to remember certain key points from every article, and I was like, I'm going to remember the city name. Did not remember. I knew it started with a G, but you got it.
But Guadalajara is such a great word.
It is a good word. I enjoyed reading it in the article.
It's going to be, I can't remember how, but it's going to be huge.
Yeah, they think it biggest in the world is what they're aiming for.
And I think it's was going to roll out by what, like 2030 or something like that. So
We'll see. We'll see. They always say that. We're like, oh, no. And they give these really aggressive timetables, but...
yeah, but that's in the United States. In Mexico, they're going to get cheap labor. and probably going to get kickbacks from the government. Right?
And probably, yeah, just these safety regulations, they don't exist.
And do a little further south in Brazil, this story played out like many of Elon Musk's dramas, where he comes out with a crazy thing and, like bucks authority. And then there's a big blow up and there's just mountains of headlines. And a month later, quietly, this happens.
Musk's acts to be reinstated in Brazil after complying with Supreme Court demands. Literally all of them. And they listed, there was like 4 or 5.
Put a person in the country.
Yep.
Block these users.
Yep.
Block this kind of content. Yeah, basically whatever. Do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They did point out that he used the most half-assed way possible to do the person in the country thing. Like he hired some service that is not even related to X at all. Basically just a warm body somewhere.
Yeah, you can't be feeling good about your job security for that guy.
It's easy money. You probably don't have to do anything. You have to take an angry phone call from that Darth Vader guy once in a while. Just be like, yes, sir, we'll do whatever you want.
Except then you have to report to Elon, and that's who you're scared of, because he'll yell at you over the phone.
I just write him an email. Text him. Never speak to him.
DM him on X.
Moving over to the EU, we do have a little tiny smattering of EU news. One thing that they wanted to do in the EU is they wanted to scan everybody's biometrics and track them and keep them in a database, which...
They will totally keep secure and nothing bad will happen, like what happened in India.
Well, not just India. Keep that in mind as we talk about the security section tomorrow, because that's, we always like to harken back to this. They're going to build this database. It's going to exist, and they're not going to be able to protect it. And not only can they not protect it, they can't even get it working.
EU delays new biometric travel checks as IT systems not up to speed.
So this is the Shenzhen open borders thing. If you are not an EU citizen, then you got to do this, which is, again, biometric scanning of your various body parts, your ID,
orifices.
And you'll be tracked as you move about the European Union. But not right now. Go crazy right now.
Make your trips to Europe now.
And we've been covering the post office scandal from Great Britain for quite some time. This has happened in 2009, but everything is just falling out recently because we've discovered how awful it all was and how far they went to try to hide it.
Post office senior executive suspended over allegations of destroying evidence. I think it seems pretty cut and dry that they shredded those documents.
And that they were instructed to shred those documents.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they realized very early on what had happened, and they tried to hide it.
They're like, this software is making a horrible accounting error. And they're like, yeah, just get rid of that paperwork.
More and more we see that way of dealing with scandals.
I've been watching Succession, and there's a whole plot line about shredding documents. It's good.
What time is that? Current timeline?
Yeah. Well, the show ended I think 2 years ago, but yeah,
but
current
it was
day,
supposed
present
to be 2
day.
years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah. I would think that shredding documents wouldn't have as much usefulness now as it did in 2009, right? There's going to be a digital copy somewhere.
I think they mentioned they wiped the hard drives too.
You can restore that.
Yeah.
Also, on television shows, all criminals talk on mobile phones freely.
Yeah.
Because it's too hard to not do that. Also, over there in England, they have their new green energy push. They want to get, all the cars to be electric and the 15-minute cities and so forth, stuff like that. The problem is we literally do not have the raw resources for that to happen, so they've called on the people to help.
Britons urged to dig out unwanted electricals to tackle copper shortage. Britons become like meth heads in Eastern Kentucky.
I was just about to say, the sub-headline here, no better time to be a meth head.
Yeah.
Because
we take
it's
copper.
Easy to steal. You know what? All of you Brits out there are lucky you don't have central heating and cooling, because they will shred those things and take the precious copper out of it and the metals.
What's in it? Is it catalytic converters? Is that platinum that people want out of that? Yeah.
Very, very valuable. Good for not only processing exhaust, but also to make grills for your teeth.
Maybe more important. The most important thing you could use that for.
Depends on who you are. What if you drive an EV? And Turkey is taking a page out of Russia's book, and everybody knew this was coming.
Turkey blocks instant messaging platform Discord. And now it's blurry, according to this editorial image.
I think it's maybe just because of the paywall.
Oh, does it blur?
I'm not sure.
Does it do? It usually just does the article text.
Oh, no, because there's unblurred.
Yeah, it was just, why are there children in the front of
Because
it?
that's the argument, right?
It's for
It's
the
dangerous
children.
for the children. Yeah, it's
I mean, that's true of any messaging platform.
true.
Uh,
Yeah. So basically, they just said it's bad for everybody. Discord will not play ball with them and let them track what's going on there, which is kind of what was going on in Russia, at least not publicly. So they've shut them down. And Kim.com,
What a picture they've chosen for this one.
he doesn't have a lot of flattering pictures, to be fair. The crop is aggressive there. But he has been approved for extradition to the United States, which is weird because he's never been to the United States. He's never committed a crime in the United States. And he's a citizen of Germany, I think, right?
Yeah, Germany.
And a lot of people are pointing that out, but he himself seems to be somewhat unworried, and he continually goes on to Twitter and says, I'm not going anywhere.
Kim.com fends off arrest before conspiracy theories and reality collide.
So they've approved it. They've approved his arrest, but no one's arresting him. And he says he's not getting arrested.
He's in New Zealand, for context.
He's also trying to get Elon Musk to help him, who is not helping him. And he made a crazy statement that if a certain person doesn't win the U.S. election, Elon Musk is in danger. What does that mean? It's a fun story to follow. The New Zealanders, not fans of his, but it seems even less fans of the New Zealand government.
Yeah, well, they're like, New Zealand shouldn't, just bow down to the U.S., which is fair.
Yeah,
I think that's true.
As an American, I have no problem with that attitude.
Yeah.
That is
We do not have jurisdiction there.
Yeah. There's a reason you're not allowed to just go pluck people out of other countries and punish them. Until now. Now you can. And here's our lone social media story. And it's just kind of a social media story. It's a social media that never was. Or at least it was in a way that absolutely no one cared about. But if you recall, there was a mania.
There was, yeah.
Except there wasn't.
There was a mania. Well, here, I'll read the headline. Where have all the chief metaverse officers gone? This article talks quite a bit about like luxury brands, mostly
Gucci.
luxury brands, Gucci, and I think they mentioned Tiffany's, a couple others, and they were like, they all rushed to get into the metaverse, like before they even knew what it was really, because they were like, we have to be in here because we missed the e-commerce boat.
And Meta changed their name
Yeah.
to Meta. But the metaverse never happened. It's probably never going to. Because now we have AI. And AI is actually a thing people are excited about. And all of the resources from the metaverse have gone to AI at this point. Mark missed the mark on that one.
I'm routinely confused about like when I read some of these stories and it's like the super rich person and they're like, oh, they did a company for this. And then like a year later, they're in another company doing some other thing. And it's like they're always seeking like that next bubble. And I'm like, do you ever just want to like retire? You're so rich.
No, because people that get to that level have something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Like their self-worth is all tied up into that.
You could do whatever hobby you want. And you're just pursuing metaverse bubbles.
The Disney story is great about that because Bob Iger retired and selected his own predecessor. And then a couple of years later, it was like, I'm just kidding, man, I'm back. And they got rid of the other guy in a coup, and he has run it into the ground. But he just couldn't stay away from it. He needed
It's bizarre to me.
I think that's a sign of mental health.
Yeah, that's wellness. That's what we should all be striving for.
And we should strive to have longer videos, according to some of you, but that won't be today because we just had such a small amount of stories. But this will be the smallest one of the week, most likely. I don't know. You got any exciting? It's been a lovely week here, weather-wise.
Weather-wise, yeah. I mean, we didn't really get hit with any of the crazy weather. I painted my nails last weekend, but literally within one day of returning back to my keyboard, all of it chipped off the edges, and like, it's just a mess now.
Your pointer fingers are particularly...
And my thumbs, because that's where I like type.
You don't... You don't
I mean, I
them?
use all of them, but like I think these ones, like it's always the corners of the thumbs that go first because you're hitting the space bar.
Is weekly the correct maintenance time for painted nails? Wouldn't you want to freshen that up more often?
Well, I don't paint my nails ever because I know it's gonna chip off so quick. But I did girls' weekend last weekend, so I had painted them for that.
Oh yeah, we heard about your overindulgence.
I drank too much first night of girls' weekend, and then I did not drink for the rest of girls' weekend. It was too much. That's a once a year thing. Anyway.
Oh, it's annualized now.
Yeah, we were talking about doing it again next year. So anyway, we will see you guys in the next one. Bye.